coming up on this episode of Bardown Beauties, we talk about whether or not a young hockey player deserves redemption. Plus, some hockey teams are coming out with their fourth unis. Do we like them or not? We'll have a lot of uni talk in this episode, and our guest Katie Miller joins us in episode 46.
Masks, hats, tees, and hoodies, SodaStick is constantly bringing you new and original swag. Whether you want to rep the Minnesota Vikings with the Bud Grant crew neck, or let folks know you're from the state of hockey with the McGolden Light Pond Hockey Club gear, SodaStick has you covered. Toss down that Bardown Beauties code at checkout for free shipping on all purchases at sodastick.com, official presenting sponsor of the Bardown Beauties podcast. Hello, everybody. We're back. Episode 46, presented by sodastick.com. How we feeling, guys? It is the Friday before Halloween that we're recording
Spooky.
Spooky. Who's excited? What are we going to be? What are we dressing up as?
Well, I'm working, so I'll be dressing up as a waitress. Hashtag get Alexis out of waitressing. Anyone else have a better costume than me?
Fred, what are you and the kids doing? What are you guys rocking? What are you, Kelly?
Oh, man. Freddie, he's a little dinosaur, and Kennedy,
yes,
she's a unicorn, and we're going to do some trunk or treats. We're going to do some, like, a Halloween parade with all the kids on the street. It is full-blown domestic dad mode this weekend.
Oh, that's so cute.
Jesse, I feel like your family does matching costumes. Is that the right vibe?
Totally. 100%,
yes, 100%.
Because mama likes to dress up. All right. Let's be honest. Like I live for holidays, you guys. Like I love like a day where I can just go all out and be crazy and silly. So last year, Hudson and I were little animals. My husband doesn't really get into the whole dress up thing. Like this poor man, I make him wear the most ridiculous things all the time. But we're going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm pretty excited. I made the costumes because that's also the kind of mom I am. But they were super easy. Like you just order stuff on Amazon and
honestly, making costumes is, it's not that bad if you can find the right pieces. Hey, Halloween on a budget, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Although, I'm not convinced that I saved a whole lot of money by making them. Frankly, like I was like, if I added it all up, which I'm not going to do because again, I think my husband would be like, you spent how much? I'm like, I don't know. I think I spent probably more than it would have been just to buy the dang costume.
It's about the experience though. And now these costumes are handcrafted and that's like a little touch of love. And so it's special.
We'll see how they turn out.
Theme with you though, Jesse. Every single week it's like, husband doesn't know how much I spent on X.
Always,
husband doesn't know how much I spent on Y.
That's what marriage is, Fred.
Has he seen your big mud stomping hiking boots yet?
No.
Yeah.
Apparently he doesn't listen to the podcast either, so we're safe.
Oh my God.
No, he has. He just hasn't asked him. Like I think he's kind of just like, maybe those have been here before. Like, I think he just is confused, right?
Well,
like,
also at a certain point, it's like, do you even want to know the answer? Like, just move along.
I know. I put in extra weekends at the rink to earn my gifts to myself.
We love a working woman. Yes, you earned those boots.
Well, we have some hockey to talk, guys. Should we do that as well? Again, happy Halloween. Hope everyone had a great time because by the time this is released, Halloween will be said and done. Hopefully, got some good candies, not too many Mounds bars, which actually, I like Mounds bars.
I don't think Mounds bars are that bad.
You're a horrible person.
I don't like Reese's, but I like Mounds bars.
How do we feel about Almond Joy? I feel like Almond Joy is a point of debate.
It's the same thing. It's
They're both delicious. They're both delicious.
I like Almond Joy. Okay, good to know. All right.
Yeah. Excellent.
So anyway, hockey.
Hockey. Well, the U.S. women's national team evaluation camp was at the Super Rink in Blaine. We will have Katie Miller on as our guest, who is the director of U.S. women's national team program, on to chat a little bit about how the week went here. Hockey's back again. We're starting to see a little bit more activity. Youth hockey starting up, high school hockey starting up here in the state of hockey. So fingers crossed that everything can go. Obviously, there's different protocols, different things that are in place. Not ideal, but if we want to stay safe, keep the kids playing, keep everyone healthy, it's kind of what we got to do.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before, but I cover high school sports for one of my jobs, and we've been talking about that, like my producer and I and stuff, about just covering these games, and we're getting through we're calling it part 2 of the fall season, because we had soccer as season 1, and now we've got volleyball and football, and then we've got basketball and hockey coming up, and there's been some parents like petitioning to get like the state tournaments going again and stuff, and I was talking to my producer about it. I was like, I get it, like that's the most exciting part of the athletic season, is playing in that postseason play and going to the big arenas and like playing on that big stage and whatnot. But we keep saying it's like, we're lucky to have it at all. Like, I understand wanting to get to that point and be able to play those games, but just knowing that like it's coming back and you get to play, even if it's minimal games or not in the same setting or with the same amount of fans as usual, like I'm just happy to see more things happening. And I think taking the baby steps is important because you don't want to like go too fast and then have it all taken away again. It's like, let's just move slowly. Let's get excited about the things coming back, even if they're not like how we normally, see them. But I think just as more and more sports start to happen and more teams start to practice, it's refreshing to see, and it gives you hope that there's more coming in the future.
Right,
Hopefully.
exactly. As hopefully, fingers crossed. Again,
Yeah.
it's not ideal, right? And people hate to be told what to do all the time, and like the restrictions can be a little bit tedious and a little bit much.
Yeah.
I know I had seen a couple of youth hockey things, and hockey players have to come half dressed. You have to
Yep.
change, not in the locker. I mean, it's a lot. I get that. I get as a parent, it's like, oh, this is such a drag. But it's be appreciative of what we have. We'll get there. We'll get back. Right now it just takes a little bit of time to warm the water, and before we just jump right in. Speaking kind of youth and hockey in a sense, Mitch Miller. For those unaware, he was drafted by the Phoenix Coyote with their first pick this year in the 2020 draft. And the team was well aware that he had harassed and bullied and discriminated against a Black disabled classmate at the age of 14. He is now obviously 18, draft eligible. So this happened 4 years prior. There's two sides to this, right? It's a tough situation. And again, it's a lot to unpack. The Coyotes drafted him knowing of his past, knowing that he had done this. To their knowledge, he had made amends with this student. His name is Isaiah, and his family. Turns out, as we discovered this week, he never really apologized at all for his actions. And that's where the hang up is for me, right? I think everyone does stuff at 14, right? I mean, we all have done things that we are not proud of. I mean, certainly never to the extent, I imagine, of harassing and bullying, especially a disabled Black classmate. But you got to show remorse, and he never appeared to do that, according to Isaiah and his family, the kid that had been bullied. So that's what's wrong. And the fact that the Coyotes drafted him and knew all of this, right? And now they came back and they decided, nope, we don't want him a part of the organization. So now Mitch Miller is a free agent. But it's kind of a little too late, right? We can't applaud Arizona for doing that because what else were you going to do? You were going to have, and they did it under the scrutiny of everybody else, right? Yes. Everyone came down on them, and it was a very reactionary thing. So again, I see the side where people want to say he was 14, cut him some slack. But at the same time, you've never shown remorse. Have you really grown? I mean, he showed he was apologetic by sending a letter to all the NHL teams, right, before the draft. That's a beneficiary reason to do it, right? He's doing it because he wants to get drafted. Yeah, he gains. And so that's not true. You're not doing it, out of actual remorse. So Alexis, what's your take on it all?
There's a couple of things that stuck out to me as this story kind of unfolded, because it kind of all happened within a span of a couple days. It was like, it came out like, hey, he did this. And then it was like, the Coyotes suck. They're still drafting him. And then it was like, the Coyotes are like, never mind, we don't want him anymore. So it was kind of like a quick story to follow with. But the couple of things that stood out to me the most is he was old enough to know better when he was 14. And like you said, kids are going to do stupid things, but there's a certain level where it's not stupid anymore. It's just downright not okay. And that obviously crosses the line where it's not cute. It's not funny. You're not doing anything but being a bully. And to me, even if he was 8, 9, 10 years old, there's still some kind of issue there. I don't care really how old he is, but 14 is definitely too old to be doing those kind of things.
And we should say for those that haven't read the article or haven't been caught up, some of the acts that he did included urinating on a sucker and giving it to this student. And
he like wiped it against.
He wiped it in the urinal, right?
Yeah, in the urinal.
Yeah. Horrendous things. It just absolutely disgusting.
And so that was one of the first things that stood out to me. I'm like, 14 is any age is too old to be doing that. Because if you're young, then it's your parents that you're learning that from, or older figures in your life that you're learning from. And that's an issue in itself. So there's really no excuse at any age to be acting that way, especially at 14. You're a teenager. You're old enough to know better. I think back to when I was 14 and my classmates and my peers, and I just can't imagine doing that. And that was one of the first things. The other thing is that, like you said, I don't want to reiterate too much of what you said because you touched on a lot, but the remorse thing, not even apologizing and only doing it when it was going to benefit you, is really disgusting. And the last thing is that basically the Coyotes had their arm twisted to say, we don't want him anymore. It's like, you're telling me there was no other options that were just as good, if not better. Like, it's not, even if this was Connor McDavid part 2 or, Wayne Gretzky part 2, I don't care. Pick somebody else. Like, it's not like he was the only option that you had. You could have picked anybody. You were aware, you've become aware of what he did, and it took people being mad about it for you to say, never mind, we don't want him anymore. So I think that was the biggest issue out of all of this for me, was that the Coyotes waited until people were so mad about it that they just kind of had their arm twisted into backing out of it.
And I should also probably mention too, I mean, their first pick this year didn't happen until the 4th round. So this player was not somebody that was scooped up in the 1st round, because they had their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds taken away because of their training camp or something they had done. I forget exactly what it was. So mind you, this is not somebody, again, that was even up high that you're like, oh, we can't miss him, we have to take him. I mean, this is a 4th round guy who was drafted 111 overall. So it kind of, again, reiterates how much emphasis hockey likes to put on the skill above anything else sometimes, right? Even though we can talk about, oh, well, we care about your off-ice character, we care about this. It's like, well, this shows that you don't. And again, in wake of hockey really needing to turn a new leaf and say, hey, we no longer want to have discrimination. We want to make hockey as for everyone, right? Well, this kind of goes absolutely against what they are implying. I'm curious to see, he is actually committed to UND and is supposed to be an incoming freshman. So
people are coming at UND as well. They're like, why would you let this kid come play for you? Like, everyone's taking heat for this right now.
Again, I mean, I think you're right. You want people to change, and you want to make sure that they learn their lesson. But I think the louder message to him is, nope, you don't get this, because you made those mistakes and you haven't shown that you've changed right now. You maybe give you a couple years and you can mature and grow a little bit more. But right now, it's not somebody that you want. And unfortunately, your reputation is everything. That's something that he has to carry around, and you doing that, a team doesn't want to be affiliated with that. An organization, a job doesn't want to be affiliated with that.
Why would people want to be affiliated with that? I wouldn't want to be friends with somebody or date somebody or hang out with somebody who had that kind of mindset about life and about other people. Like, that's just, it's disgusting. Fred, you looked like you were going to say something. Did you have something to say?
Well, I think all the hate going towards Arizona Coyotes, I don't know if it's fully justified, because if you're in a situation, it's a 4th round, it's the 111th pick. It's not like they absolutely were pining for this guy. At that point, you're just taking the best on the board, right? So you probably don't have a huge laundry list of really, really detailed information. Sure. And if your information is saying that he has apologized and he has made peace with that family, you could always take that thing where we're not going to be having him like playing for the NHL for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
He's going to school and stuff. So maybe they're hoping that he'll continue to mature. Would I have taken him? No. Do I think he deserves a second chance? No, I don't think he deserves a second chance.
They also said like that they were, I don't know if this was like confirmed or not. I just saw there was a reporter who was saying this, that the Coyotes were planning on using him as like the poster child of like growth and change and like how to be a better person. It's like, now you're trying a little too hard. Like, you're telling me you don't have better options for being like an upstanding citizen. Like, that's where it seemed like there was a little bit of reaching going on. And I'm like, okay, like either you just pulled that out of your ass to try to make yourself look
better.
That's
what they did. I guarantee that's what they did.
Well, again, you got to spin it as a PR. I imagine it was a complete meltdown nightmare for the Coyotes. I mean, they're struggling handling in a lot of different areas now. Like, again, you lose your first 3 picks. Like, they're not doing too hot down in Arizona. Irony. But
I'm the dad here. I'm the dad here.
It's a bad situation overall. And I think 98% of the blame has to be put on this kid who did this. And the Coyotes are a little bit to blame as well. And I'm glad they renounced the pick and said, that's that. We're not doing that. I think that was probably the right move. But to put it in a nutshell, I'm most upset about the fact that A, this kid thought this was okay to do to begin with, and B, that it took this long and this fake of an apology for him to say something. Like, that's where my issue lies with it overall. And it's not good for the league to have this kind of issue at this point in time. It's not a good issue to have ever, but right now when you're trying to make changes and try to prove that you are, you care about these things and you want to make actual changes, not just saying you want to make changes, but actually making changes, this is going to set you back. So
exactly.
That's where the issue is. Yeah.
I mean, things absolutely need to change in the league, in the sport in general, from the youth on down, right? I mean, there's obviously sometimes hockey players get this rap for having a sense of entitlement and being better. And well, you treat them like that it's what happens, unfortunately.
But good on the hockey community for making people become accountable for this situation. I think if you want to take a positive away from this, it's that hockey fans and the hockey community and media members did not let this slide. They jumped on this. They put stories out about it. They said this is not acceptable, and they forced the Coyotes' hand. Whether you want to say it twisted the Coyotes' arm to do it or not, that's whatever, but I'm proud of the hockey community for saying we're not going to stand up for this. Like, something needs to be done about this.
People who have issued change. Travis Roy, unfortunately, passed away yesterday. He was a big proponent in the Travis Roy Foundation for Spinal Cord Injury Survivors back in 1995, just 11 seconds, into his first shift with the Boston University team. He slid headfirst into the boards and ended up being paralyzed. So very unfortunate. He was 47 years old, or 45, excuse me. And, but he really made paralysis and this is back before, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name, guys. Help me out. The Minnesota player.
Jablonski?
Jack Jablonski, right? I mean, everybody kind of knows him here in the state, but this happened. Travis Roy was paralyzed for almost a similar thing. I mean, again, head first is a little bit different than how Jablonski went into the boards, but unfortunately he passes away, but just a tremendous human being who was well respected and well known throughout the hockey community.
Yeah, it was. I saw a lot of people kind of posting stuff about it. And funny enough, we had Charlie on the last episode, and he was posting a ton of stuff about him because, this happened out in Boston and stuff. So it's devastating to see that kind of stuff happen because, you don't see these kind of injuries happen all that often, right? It's always in the back of your mind that like this could happen. And the leagues have done a good job of trying to minimize those kind of plays from happening. Even the NHL changed the icing rule. It's been a while now, but they changed it a while back to try to minimize those. And so the leagues try to do a good job of keeping the players safe. But these kind of things do still happen from time to time. And when it does happen to these people, they even Jablonski, they do what they can to try to make these stories known and to try to make changes and make things safer. So it's just really sad to see, especially at such a young age, to have someone like that pass. So, hopefully there's only more safety precautions that come out to keep these players safe, and they do what they can. It is what it is. At the end of the day, these sports, there's going to be dangerous plays that happen regardless. But especially this story, it's like so early on into your first shift. It's just like, that's such a tragic story. And so it was seeing everybody post about it after it had happened, and hearing the nice things people had to say about him was really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers with his family and friends. With that, let's switch gears here. Let's bring it back. Let's bring that tempo back up, guys. Uniforms. Everyone, it's sweater weather. Anybody know that? Sweater weather. We put out a poll on our out to the Twitter sphere, our hockey Twitter, if you will, about unis. Now we've seen. Do you want to talk about the Dallas unis first?
I was just going to say, hold on a second. Unis? Let's preface it with the atrocity that was the Dallas Stars' fourth uniform. I had the day off on Wednesday, right? So, I mean, like, I had some work for the podcast to do, but I was like home all day, and I was like, looking forward to enjoying my day off. And then Dallas drops this bomb, and I was like, now I have to dedicate my entire day to roasting the Dallas Stars on Twitter. Like, I've now, like, this is what I'm doing today, because I seriously, like, I tweeted this too, and I wasn't even trying to be funny. I thought it was a joke at first. Like, I was like, there's no way.
For those who haven't seen them, it's a completely black uniform with a neon green like outline, where usually they have their normal green or their white. It looks like Mountain Dew exploded onto, like, I love, you know what? I think my favorite thing though is, so not only was the reaction just like, oh my God, this is terrible, but the creativity that this brings out when something is so horrible, right? Like, the internet just really took it and ran with it. Like, hey, they're going to a rave, or like just different things. Like, it's just kind of, I think I knew what they were trying to do, right? Like, they're right. Neon colors are kind of cool and hip with the you young kids nowadays, right?
Us young kids, yeah. Not like that though. I renounced that. I renounced the Dallas Stars green jersey as a 20-something-year-old. I do not like those. I don't want to be a part of that generation that thinks that kind of color scheme is cool. They are terrible. They are, I'm not trying to be funny. I am so serious. This is not a hyperbole. The worst jersey I've ever seen in my life. Like, that's my take on that.
The worst.
And the worst
than like the fishermen of the island. Like, that one for me, it was always
worst.
Just like
The worst jersey I've ever seen.
What do you guys think? Let me know if you think there's a worse jersey out there. Tweet it at us. I want to see this, because I think there are worse jerseys. We might even have to put this out to the Twitter sphere this week and see what folks think, because I don't think it's the worst. Like,
No, I didn't take it to the bank.
I don't like them, but I didn't hate them probably as much as everybody else did. I mean, I thought Vegas's look worse. I think those are a little bit uglier just in general.
Vegas's are okay. They're not like the best jersey I've ever seen. I puked in my mouth a little when I saw Dallas release their jerseys. That's how I feel about that. So
is there just underlying hatred? It's like still.
I mean, it definitely makes it more fun to make fun of them, because it's like I already don't like this organization, so I might as well roast them for their jerseys. I mean, if it would have happened to, like, I don't know, like the like San Jose Sharks, would I have been as like, you know, full steam ahead on the roasting? Probably not. But like, it's Dallas and they released the worst jersey of all time. Like, of course I'm going to take that to the bank and make absolute fun of them for it. So
I mean,
that prompted our question about our jerseys.
Yes, exactly. I mean, actually, ironically, we were going to do it anyway. Because everybody loves to talk about jerseys. Everybody likes to say yes, no, maybe so, horrible, whatever. Yeah. So we put out a question to everybody asking which of the three. I picked three. I know there are more. The current ones I did not include because I think the current ones they look fine. I mean, they do what you can with the color scheme that the Wild have been given, which I don't like at all. But I went with the OG style, and then I also went with the scripted green, and then we went with the red with the circular logo in the middle. A lot of obviously scripted green, which I kind of expected. That's my favorite too. Mm-hmm. Alexis, you liked the original. The
OG white ones. I love the scripted green. But the white ones, I'm such a nostalgia person that every time I see those white ones, I'm like, oh, my heart, like the early 2000s. I can't. Like,
I had a heck of a time even finding like a picture of those. That's why there's this Gabrick one, because somebody is selling that jersey on eBay. If anybody wants it, it's
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scripted green ones are I love like that dark forest green. Like, I think it's a really nice green color, and like I do really love those jerseys. I will say I do not like the red ones with the circular logo.
That was my mom's favorite, and I'm like,
the red color is fine. I just don't like that circular logo because I think
I love that one.
You like that one?
Yeah,
you would,
yeah.
Are you just trying
I have
to
one.
us?
I have one. It's a Jason Zucker one. I like it.
I just like, I think I know a lot of people hate the Wild logo, but I love the Wild logo. I think it's really unique. And so that's why I like the white ones a lot too, is because the logo is like on such display on those ones. And so that's kind of, and I love the ones that they have now as well. The red ones are definitely my least favorite, and the white is my favorite.
I mean, the current ones are kind of a mix between that original and then even the green script, really, with like the way that the blocking on the bottom is. I have heard that the New jerseys that the Wild are getting actually look really, really sharp. I know I've been
like a neon color jersey. Now I made my bet, and now I'm gonna have to lie.
I got people that had
who said they look sharp? Who said?
A person.
Yeah, a person. Sources. Anonymous sources. Works for the team.
Okay.
Who are very biased.
Well, and that's what they said, completely unbiased. I think
of course they would say that.
That's what
somebody who is biased
people always say.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I think we've already known, right? It's going to go a little retro. They obviously don't have the rights to the North Stars, like the Stars stuff. So we'll see what they can do. Unless the NHL finally said, hey,
Dallas set the bar so low that it's like, I'm not afraid of anything at this point. Anyone can release any kind of jersey and it will never be as bad as the Dallas Stars neon jersey. So
but again, you got
somebody even said, they were like, is that like an advantage to the Stars when they play against their opponent, that their opponent's gonna be like blinded? And I was like, that's actually a really good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, atrocious. Or maybe they're just so like, that's what they're gonna get chirped about the first time they wear them, right? Like that's 100% what they're chirped. Like, sweet jersey, bro.
Yeah, like imagine playing against a team wearing those jerseys. You have your chirps for the entire game. No matter how that game unfolds, you can just keep going back to how bad those jerseys are, and it will never get old.
We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Katie Million. Stay tuned.
Do you want to continue to support the Beauts? Well, make sure you check out our official Bardown Beauties Teespring store. It's stocked full of mugs, fanny packs, baby Beauts merch, and everything else you can imagine. Every purchase goes to support the pod and the Beauts, and we make sure to toss sales out there from time to time. I know one just ended, but there's going to be plenty more in the future to support you and your wallet, so make sure you go check that out and get yourself some merch.
We're back. Joining us now, the amazing director of women's team national programs, Katie Million. Katie, how are you? You're in Minnesota. How are things going in Blaine?
Oh, they're going awesome. We've had a great week of hockey. Hockey is back finally. It's been amazing.
How did camp go? 53 of the nation's best females on the ice at the Super Rink here for national team evaluation. How did everything go? And tell us a little bit about the process this week.
Yeah, well, as you guys know, it's been a crazy year for everyone. So
What happened? What are you talking
Did we
about?
miss something?
yeah, so our team hasn't been together since February. So it was just an amazing feat for us to get here and be playing hockey together, and having people, players and staff, come in from all over the country. So it was really exciting to see everyone again. Zoom is awesome, but there's just that personal touch, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, it took a lot of planning. Anytime we have an event like this with that kind of number of players, there's tons of logistics and scheduling and planning and all the stuff that goes into an event. But then you throw COVID in on top, and then it's just like blows up, right? So, thank God I have an amazing medical staff that helped us write the protocols, figure out the testing, get everything together to host this big of a group in a very safe manner. So, similar to what some of the pro teams have done, we did obviously a much smaller version, but like a mini bubble here in Blaine, Minnesota. And, the super rink and the hotel here we're Fairfield Inn, have been absolutely amazing and so accommodating and understanding of, protecting our bubble.
So how does the international competition side of things look for you guys this season? Obviously, we're all thankful that hockey is coming back, even if it's, slowly or in small bits. But we sometimes have to look at this bigger picture of how do we plan these things out. So what is that going to look like for you guys this season, and specifically like your role? What do you have to do differently to get that organized?
Well, Alexis, I tell everyone that I've gotten really good at juggling, because that's exactly what it feels like. Yeah, there is a ton of unknowns. It's a critical point for us too. I mean, World Championships are scheduled to be in Halifax, Nova Scotia in April. We're really hopeful that we'll get in a couple of camps and maybe even some games with Canada if the borders open up a little bit before then. But to be honest with you, I mean, it's very up in the air. And as I said, it's a critical time for us. I mean, we're 18 months out from the Olympic Games, and to have events and to be able to evaluate and compete and see where we're at is a critical point right now for us. So it was really a test, and so awesome to get this camp in, and it's been super successful. So it looks very promising for some more events and camps, and then fingers crossed, World Championships in Nova Scotia in April.
You had mentioned, obviously, it was nice to get back together. People have texting, and there's so many virtual ways to stay connected, but it's never quite the same as being in the locker room with your teammates. I know I follow Hannah Brandt and Hillary Knight, and I know there's pranks going on back and forth, right? I mean, how great is it to see? I mean, and how important is that to team bonding and team unity to finally get back together, right? And have that engagement and that closeness in order to succeed on the ice eventually then.
Exactly. I mean, you touched on it. I mean, it's that team bonding, right? And like I said, we did a lot over Zoom and the whole virtual camp back in August. And, we've tried to keep our players engaged and, do different things, how we all have been adjusting, right?
Right.
So that was awesome and a really good learning curve for us, and we've learned some things with that. But you're right. I mean, just to be together, to be in the locker room, to see faces is just the ultimate.
Is Hillary the biggest prankster on the team? It seems like she's the one that's always kind of stirring some pot. Or is it Hannah? I feel like she's the same.
There's a few of them on the team. I'd throw Megan Keller in that mix, and I would also throw Amanda Kessel in that mix
Oh,
too.
okay.
So some little secrets there for you guys.
Well, their pranking skills are probably secondary to their hockey playing abilities, which we always like to say in Minnesota that we are very blessed to have so much talent come out of Minnesota on the men's and women's side of things. We're very, very lucky here. Also out in Massachusetts, you see a lot of talented hockey players come out of that area as well. How cool and how important is it for you to see players from other states and other areas of the country kind of shining, especially compared to the fact that we have a lot coming out of these very local areas?
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to see the growth of hockey, and especially in women's and girls hockey. It's just unbelievable to see. And like you said, we have a roster of 53 here this week, and they are from all over. We've
Mhm.
got a young lady from Texas. We've got a couple California.
Mhm.
Not just those Massachusetts, Minnesota hotspots, although there are a lot from there. But yeah, it's really awesome to see, and I think I attribute that to obviously growth in girls and women's hockey, but also, there's just a more concerted effort, right? And even like I have to give props to the NHL for all the things that they're doing to showcase and make sure that they're given some props to the girls and women's, and whether that be having ambassadors
Mhm.
now with each of the teams. A lot of the NHL teams have brought on some of our female ambassadors and some of our players, as well as I mean, who can forget Kendall Coyne in the All-Star game and
Mhm.
showcasing that kind of thing. So the more little girls can see it, the more they want to be it and be
Mhm.
part of it.
Is it kind of funny to say, like, gosh, it's about time, NHL, right? I mean, it did. It seems
Right.
like it took forever, but you're right. I mean, they have female players come and skate with their teams now, right, to show some exposure, and they are really lending support. Again, can you just reiterate why that is important that the NHL says, hey, we're supporting the women's side just as much as the men's or as much as they can?
Yeah, and I think if you talk to their marketing department, you'd also see that like their fans are, maybe more than half women.
Yeah.
So that's important. And yeah, like you said, there's their efforts in this, and then also a lot of like the Learn to Skate
Mhm.
programs and like here in Minnesota, the Little Wild and
Mhm.
and things like that just are so important and so awesome to not only have hockey players that then go on to the NHL or become Olympians with USA Hockey, but just lifelong fans, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And speaking of growth, we've seen it at all levels, and you see that support from other leagues helping each other out and
Yep.
promoting and exposing these kind of things. Talk about your role with the WCHA Women's League and Billy Robb and kind of what you
Oh
guys
boy.
did there.
I love me some Billy Robb. You and him were just this
Oh.
dynamic duo. I love it.
You know what? I absolutely loved my role at the WCHA. It was such an honor to be the commissioner, and my goal always there was to make sure those women and those programs were showcased, and just do whatever I could to promote them and get them out in front of anyone and everything and everybody, including trying to get more sponsors for some of our events in our league and things like that. But really boosting the TV exposure that they got, as well as social media, right? So it was a blast, and I have to say I miss it and miss working alongside Billy Robb and the crew there. But my colleague, the woman who took my position, Jen Flowers, is she's great, and she's pushing it even more forward. So I give her big props too.
As
You
you left.
mentioned, well, I was just going to say, you mentioned social media, which made me think of an interesting question, which, we're in a time where we are trying so hard to push the Women's Hockey League into the light
Yeah.
and give them the exposure that they deserve and the attention that they deserve. How lucky are we, and maybe it's a blessing and a curse, to have social media be so prominent in a time where we're working really hard to get this attention? I know there's a lot of negatives to it as well, but have you found that that's been a big part of being able to give them attention?
Oh, for sure. I mean, social media, I mean, I'm old enough, so I'm I'm way before the days of you had to spend a lot of money to
Hmm.
to gain that exposure, and social media has made it so easy, so affordable to push those messages and to get it out in front of, young girls and people of all ages. And we also back at the WCHA had some great partners in you know, podcasts like you guys, Bardown Beauties and or Fox Sports North, and like just everybody really embraced what we were trying to do, and that's always a good feeling. You know that they do care and they want to help not only women in hockey and in hockey in general, but women in sport, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're still fighting.
Just a little bit, and that brings me, that's a perfect segue to my next question. And you had mentioned earlier, if girls can see it, they want to be it. You yourself have held these senior level roles in sports management for 20 plus years now. How do women and girls start to get involved in a career like that? And do you see it growing where we're going to see more women? I know Seattle, we had talked about a couple episodes ago, has done a really
Yeah.
great job at placing females in high level management and
Yeah.
scouting roles and putting an emphasis on that. Do you see that as a trend moving forward, that women will start to get more involved in sports management?
Oh, absolutely. And that's, always one of my messages to young people, or even college age, that don't really know what they want to do or whatever. But, if you have a passion for hockey or sport or whatever your thing is, my message is always, don't let that go. Like, just push and work your hardest to make that dream a reality. Um, and my other message is that if you're in hockey and you're a really great hockey player, and but the end of the road is coming for you as a career, there's so many options for you, right? Like, you can be in administration like myself, you can go into broadcasting, you can be like what you guys are doing. You look at Cami Granado, a scout for the Seattle Kraken. I mean, there's just so many opportunities, and I do think that we're making ground, and some larger big organizations like the NHL are recognizing it. I mean, look at the NFL too. They're hiring coaches who are women. And I think, again, the more you see it, the more it's going to grow. And just, I think that we're going to really change the world, because
That's the plan, right?
Yeah, you got it.
I would say
mean,
any man, like my husband or Fred could probably attest to, a woman is very strong. She will get her way. She can handle 100 different things. We're great jugglers. Like, we can do it all. Like, bring it on, baby.
And you're so humble too.
Super humble. Never
Hey, come on now,
did.
Fred. He mutes his mic immediately, just tosses that bomb and backs up. Well, Katie, I got asked this question when I was a guest on a podcast a week ago, and I thought it was a great question, and I would love to ask you as well. Somebody asked me if, when I was younger, and once I realized kind of this is what I wanted to do as a career, if I felt like it was possible, if I felt like the jobs were available, if I felt like I could do it, or if it seemed more of kind of like a far off dream. What is your take on that? When you were growing up and when you realized, hey, this is what I want to do, did you have any role models in these positions, or did it seem like a feasible thing to you at the time?
Yeah, my thing was, like, I love sport. I had to be in sport. I knew that when I was moving into a career, I knew that I couldn't be like a insurance salesman or in medical, or you know what I mean? Like, for me, it was like I had to be in sport. That was my thing, and I didn't take any position that didn't have something to do with sport and some interest to me, right? So I think, that's definitely helpful. The networking, find people in those positions. Doesn't need to be a man or a woman or, whatever. Like, find people in those positions that you can talk to and be a mentor. And, a lot of my mentors were men who'd been in the role for a very long time. And I appreciate everything that they've taught me. I think too, young people have an expectation to come out of college and get, a $150,000 paying job, and
Ooh, that would be
that's
nice.
just right.
What career is this? I need to make a change, I think.
But you guys probably thought that too when you were getting ready to go. Oh, done with college, gonna get this great paying job,
Where's
right?
my money?
Retire in 5 years. Yeah.
Exactly. And then reality hits, and you're like, okay, maybe not. And I think my one of the things that I always did, and right, wrong, indifferent, was always take a job, volunteer, do whatever. Doesn't matter what the pay is, as long as you're loving what you're doing. And work hard. People notice that. They might not tell you all the time, but if you work your butt off, it'll pay off in the end.
I've said that to people who have reached out to me asking questions. I'm like, I did like 18 unpaid internships, or I was working for nothing, right? Because and at the end of the day, sports, I'm sorry, folks, does not pay super great. It's very rare that you're
unless
going
you're
to
the athlete.
Unless you're the athlete, right? Which not here, guys, not here. But yeah, like you said, Katie, I think it speaks volumes when you do love what you do. Like we all are lucky enough to go to a rink every day, right? And watch people play a game and be a part of a game, even if we're not playing itself. So, I mean, that pays in its own right. Again, a lot comes with that, but I totally agree with that sentiment. Which I have to ask, did you play hockey? I don't even know if you ever did. You play?
Oh, she's laughing. That's how I answer that question too.
I know. I'm like, I gotta come up with a better story on this question. But no, I never played competitive hockey. I always was just a sports nut, and my experience back in Lake Placid, I was there for 17 years in sport management and did all kinds of crazy things with all kinds of crazy sports. And my love for hockey started as a young person, going out with my brothers and my brothers' friends and stuff, and playing on the pond and just goofing off, but never played professionally. But then what really sealed the deal was Lake Placid, and just my office was steps from the 1980 Herb Brooks Arena. And
I have chills just even like the mention, like, oh, Lake Placid.
I mean, and then it just all goes from there, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, we're team no hockey here. Alexis and I never played hockey either.
Never played competitively. Yep,
it works.
Well, and I think it's always interesting because you always, I think, assume that when you see a certain person in a role in a sport, you think, oh, they must have played at some point. But at the end of the day, I know for me too, it's always just been, no, I just loved hockey. Like I could not imagine a job other than working in sports or working in hockey. And it's amazing what you can do, not even having the that experience playing the sport, and how you can still make changes in that world. So I'm glad you never played hockey. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the never played hockey but works at hockey club.
Exactly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And and I always say, like, I don't need to be a good hockey player. We have those. I need to be a good planner and figure out the logistics and be the manager, right? Like, and that's my strong suit. So
absolutely. You're fairly new to your role at USA Hockey. I mean, obviously you always worked. Tell us, what's your favorite part been? Again, you were thrown a big old curveball with COVID in your first stint here, but so far, what's been something that you've really enjoyed about the role?
I really love the team atmosphere. I told you guys before, like, I love being at the WCHA and being the commissioner of all those teams, those 7 teams, and representing them on a national stage. But you never felt connected to one single one. And, I couldn't go to a game and wear Minnesota State purple or go for maroon, or, you know what I mean? Like, right. I couldn't do that. But now, I mean, I'm in my USA gear every day. And just like,
well, and now you could tell us, which team would you have worn and represented if you were to have chosen in the WCHA?
Oh, Jesse,
I know.
A tough one. I can't even go there.
She pleads the fifth.
Yeah, fair enough.
But no, I think the team camaraderie and just feeling a part of a team, and having those relationships. I'm a huge relationship person, and I think that's been really fun. There's been tons of challenges since I've been in the role about 18 months now, and we've had canceled tournaments, and our 4 Nations last fall was canceled, and then World Championships, and then COVID, and then August, and now it's just been like kind of a roller coaster. But the eye on the prize is always that gold medal in Beijing.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners? Anything you want them to look forward to or go check out? Obviously, with everything kind of starting back up here again, any exciting news you want to share?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have any super exciting news, but I always tell people this, like, if you have not gone to a girls' high school game or a women's college game or checked out our women's national team, please just give it a shot, because you are going to be blown away by the skill level that you're seeing. And if you're a hockey fan, just check it out. That's my ask. I think we'll convert you into being a fan of our women, and certainly would love to have you cheering us on when we're competing in Beijing.
Yeah.
I always say the same thing. I say, if you're a hockey fan, there's no reason you're not a women's hockey fan too. It's all the same. Just the best talent you're going to get. It's a great hockey game. And so I second that. Here.
Agreed. We've challenged you guys to do this numerous times on the episode. So now Katie's on our side with it. Go out,
We're just
check
gonna
it out.
keep getting people to come and tell you to watch a women's hockey game.
Like watch a women's hockey game. It's so much fun. Well, Katie, thank you again so much for taking the time. Safe travels. Are you heading back to Colorado? Are you going to Colorado? I know you're based here, actually, aren't you?
I am based in Minnesota, so I get to stay right here in the hockey hotbed.
Love it. Well, we'll love it. Grab lunch sometime, grab coffee, whatever. We'll hang out for sure.
Perfect. Love that.
Well,
thanks so much for having me, you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break, you guys. We'll be right back.
Don't miss a beat with the Beauties. Make sure you're subscribing to Bardown Beauties podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Once subscribed, help us grow by rating and telling us what you think about Bardown Beauties. We love bringing you fresh eps each and every week and need your help to reach new listeners and new heights. Appreciate your love and support.
We're back. Thanks again to Katie for joining us. She's just so awesome. Again, just great to catch up with her. Talk some women's hockey too. I feel like we probably don't get enough women's hockey. And again, we will try to get as much of that on, getting more guests like Katie, some of those women's players, obviously Whitecaps, Alexis works closely with. So always good to switch gears and mix it up a little bit. Before we take a quick break and before we conclude segment 1, we have a couple questions. We actually let you guys know that
we do.
We actually got questions. Yahoo!
Yay!
We try every week and nobody wants to talk to us. So I'm super excited that people do this week. And they're not your dad. Usually it's your dad or Fred's wife calling in to let us know, but we appreciate. Yeah, no. Fred, will you do us the honor of reading our questions?
I'll throw a couple out there. A couple I'm gonna I'm not gonna answer. But we have a Peter 55089, or better known as Peter K, whose only photo is that Twitter egg.
Which makes me nervous when you say that now. Like, what question is this? No.
But this is pretty much an Alexis question. What do you think of the Whitecaps roster this year? Do you think they can make the finals again for the 3rd year? Also, has there been any talk of how Toronto will be able to travel?
Yes and yes to the first 2 questions. They've re-signed a lot of players that were on that team previously. And there was even just a few more signings in this past week. So they've brought back players, like Allie Thunstrom is back. She's one of my favorites. Stauber, you've got like Winnie Brodt-Brown. You've got, you've got a lot of players who were on that team in the previous years who made it to these finals who are coming back. So I'm optimistic that this team is going to be good again. The other thing on top of that is I think they're going to be hungry knowing that they made it to that final again, didn't have a chance to play it. I think they're going to want not necessarily revenge, but I think they're going to want to make a point that it wasn't like a hoax that they made it back to the final. So I think they're going to want to make a point this season and get back there and get a victory again. So yes, I think I love what they're doing with the lineup and I think they have a chance. As far as the Toronto 6 traveling, I haven't heard too much about it or looked too much into it. Obviously in the NWHL, all of the teams are on the East Coast except for the Whitecaps and the Toronto 6. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to format that schedule and those kind of travel things because the Whitecaps were always the odd man out before the Toronto 6 came in. So I don't know if they're going to try to match up the Toronto 6 and the Whitecaps.
They can't cross the border.
They can't cross the border.
So I don't know like what they're gonna do for that. But they're planning on starting the season in January, so we've got a couple months to get it all sorted out. But it's gonna be interesting. So
good luck.
Yeah.
Next question from General Soreness. Welcome to Talk North Pod. Hey.
Yay.
Talk North Pod. Now that Guerin has started to put a stamp on this team, how long do you think it will take to get the Wild back into the playoffs? And how long until they can legit contend for a long run?
Oh, the question everybody wants to know always, right? Every time. It's going to be a bit, you guys. He's not gone into full rebuild mode, right? Bill Guerin has been stating this isn't a full rebuild. It's not what Chicago's done, right? Chicago's trashed everybody that they can and building anew with a bunch of unknowns. But it's going to be a tough, bumpy road, I think, for the next couple years. I think I see a legit, if Marco Rossi comes in and can do his thing, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how Kaprizov goes. But still, you got to give him a year. I wouldn't expect to be a legit playoff contender until maybe give them 5 years. 5 years, they'll be a legit, like, this is a team that can win a cup. I think you still got to you got to shake off some contracts a little bit too that are stuck around for a while.
Who are those?
I don't know. There's just a few, but I mean, I think once you can shake loose those two, that's going to really, really help you. And by then you've got these guys that have been here for a bit. Hopefully they're exactly what they were primed to be again. That's Kaprizov and Marco Rossi, for instance. Kevin Fiala is still young, has time to grow. But yeah, I would say 5 years, legit cup run. I think they'll be in the playoffs. Maybe I think they'll skip this year. Next year, they could probably still be a playoff because a lot of teams make the playoffs unless they change the format. The Wild will always manage to
change it back to the 1 through 8 for the love of God. That's all I want. I just want the 1 through 8 playoff matchups again.
The luck up.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I do want to also caution people that, to me, there's a fine line between a reshaping and a rebuilding. I think the Wild are in a reshaping process. I don't think they're in a rebuilding process. Like Jesse said, a rebuild looks more like what Chicago's doing right now, where they kind of strip it down and start from ground zero. That's not what the Wild are doing, but there is definitely some molding going on there, and it's going to be a different team than you're used to seeing. So I'm going to start by saying that. I do think that the Wild have a lot of good pieces, and I think part of what makes the NHL so fun is that you really can see kind of any team in the playoffs at any point in time. You just really never know. But I will say that it does take even really good players some time to get going sometimes, especially someone like Kaprizov who's coming from playing in a league overseas who has to adjust to the NHL. You've got, a young kid like their draft picks coming in. That takes some time to adjust to, and just to get the team as it is to mesh together. Even if you have good pieces on defense, good pieces on offense, solid netminders, it can take some time for a team to get meshed together into a groove that works for them. So I will say that I agree with Jesse that they probably won't make the playoffs this year. I think they could make the playoffs in the near future. And as far as a long cup run, I do think that's a few years out. But I'm a firm believer that anything is possible at any point in time. So I think they've got a lot of good things working for them, and it just might take a little bit of time to get it
So
together.
I think the Minnesota Wild are going to be exactly who they have always been. They're going to be the Minnesota Wild.
They are who we thought they were.
They're going to be like the third in the division, get into the playoffs, and first round. But
no, they're going to lead the division for a while
No,
in the
they're
season,
not. No.
and then they're going to fall off, and then
not even close. They're going to make it and squeak it in, but the team has the upside. That's what I would say.
I mean,
Here's the next one.
Wait. But I want to go off that because I thought it was funny. Remember that that Tony X, the St. Louis fan.
Yeah.
He had
Solo
tweeted,
City. Yeah.
Yes, Solo City. So on that
so
same
disrespectful.
note, where was it? What did he say? He's like, oh, it's got to be the Minnesota Wild.
Somebody said
what's the most average hockey player?
Yeah. He goes, I don't know, but it's for somebody on the Wild. That sure hurted. Why do you got to say that?
Oh, it was so dead on. I was
you
like,
could just let Fred ask the next question, Jesse. You had to just bring that into today's episode.
I had to because it was so funny.
Just pain. Next question from Tom. I'm going to say Thunning. That's my guess. Tom Thunning. What's the over-under? This is a good question. What is the over-under on when fans will overreact to Talbot's first bad game?
Yes.
That's my favorite question.
I mean, he's the starter, so game one, right? Like,
for sure, game one.
For sure, game one.
They are gonna pick him apart, even if he gets the win. Like they are gonna find something to.
He'll let in a soft goal.
Yep.
Oh, it'll be just like Dubnyk. Oh man,
he's gonna blow a shutout late in the game, and everyone's just gonna tear him apart. It's like we still won 3-1, you guys. But yeah, I would say that people are going to. I do think you're gonna see a lot more optimism this year, just because I think fans got really frustrated. I think fans hit a breaking point last year. I'm not even gonna lie. I think that they kind of got frustrated with kind of just that mediocre play. And I think that seeing all these changes that are happening to the lineup this season, I think is going to give fans a little bit of optimism. But I will say that by the end of, I will give them 7 games. The over-under's at 7. I'm smashing the under. And I think that within the first few games of the season, he's going to get picked apart at some point in some game.
Over under 3. I'm smashing the under. Wild fans do. We've talked about, even Charlie Coyle had mentioned on our last episode, and plenty of our guests have, they're knowledgeable fans here, right? We know our hockey. We pride ourselves on knowing, and I don't like failures. You set that bar high. I think you're right. There's probably a little bit more optimism, especially just in the sense of the return of hockey and sports in general, right? But I think they're also really sick of being stuck in this rut. And so I think they're not going to be too kind, especially when the Cam Talbot signing was a little bit questionable anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I mean,
huh,
even
what's going
Jesse,
on
you and I
here?
were kind of like, I don't know how we feel
Yeah.
about this. I do think
So-
that if the pieces like in front of Talbot are working well at the beginning of the season and he is the reason that maybe we're just barely losing a game, fans are going to tear into him so much faster. If the whole team is just not playing well, I think fans might let it slide because there's going to be a lot of things you can pinpoint of like what's going wrong. But yeah, if he sticks out in any way, shape, or form as like the possible reason the team lost a game, he is going to get lit into. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they've run plenty of goalies out of this town, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the first time.
Good luck, Cam Talbot. Welcome to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it for our questions, producer
That's
Fred?
it. That's all I
I
got.
love it. Thank you guys so much for doing that. We're going to try to get those in every week because it's fun. We like answering your
Yeah.
questions and interacting with you guys. So certainly feel free to shoot them throughout the course of the week too. You don't have to just wait until Friday. We've got our email and all of our social media channels accepting things, as well as a voicemail. Feel free to give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. We would love that.
Cindy from Coon Rapids. Feel
Cindy
free to
from
call
Coon
back.
Rapids. That's what it was. I was like, I know you have a from Coon Rapids. Cindy from Coon Rapids. We love you. Before we wrap things up on this week's episode, we'll conclude with Alexis's youthful hockey diary, where she usually rips apart the Wild or maybe the opposing team. One of the two. It's a guarantee.
Sometimes
both. Or makes no sense at all. Here's Dear Diary with Alexis.
Wild versus Flames, April 8th, 2010. Maybe the curse of bad luck is being lifted. Probably not, though. Probably just a temporary setback.
I feel like you only ever watched the Flames, Wild versus Flames.
Northwest Division. I'm telling you, the Northwest Division was the best time of my life. And
I want to go back and do a count on how many Wild versus Flames games that we have covered, which is
that
awesome.
was back
like,
when
it.
the playoff format was 1 through 8. Life was good. I didn't have
Dion
a care in the
Phaneuf was on
world.
the team.
I hated Dion Phaneuf. Let's get
I
him on the
remember that.
podcast. I have some things to say to Dion Phaneuf.
My mom, she'd have a couple beverages watching the game, and then she'd be like, "That's enough of that." And she thought she was so funny because she just hated him so much. And that was like the one thing I remember. I was like, "You're nuts, lady." Like,
honestly, bring back the Northwest Division. If we're gonna do like a rearranging of like the divisions this year for like bubble purposes or whatever they might be doing, can we bring back the Northwest Division? That would make 2020 would turn around like that if I find out the Northwest Division is coming back. So I don't know who needs to do that, make that happen, but like let's get on that. So
let's do it. Let's Alexis's proposal. We'll bring this all to the
please
league,
sign my petition to bring back the Northwest Division.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for episode 46, presented by SodaStick.com. Again, thank you to Talk North for featuring us on their network. Thank you to SodaStick for being awesome and all of their support. Thank you to you guys, more importantly, for checking us out every week. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, share, like. Let's keep this thing growing, as always, and have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later. Bye, guys. Near.